welcome everyone to the first edition. Thanks to Tom for inviting me on to come and talk about all the latest features that are about to come or have just recently dropped on Microsoft Teams Rooms. So, if anyone's interested, this is the Pantone color of the year. There's some great PowerPoint slides you can build. There's a Windows desktop theme and some Teams wallpapers as well. So I think, as Tom described it, it's a very calming color. It's quite good. But I'm not here for that. We're here to talk about business. Let's talk about what we've got in Teams Rooms. So I thought I'd cover what is coming outside the room first. So at Teams Panels. So these are the devices from Yealink, Crestron, and Logitech are the three vendors. Have I missed anyone? They're the three vendors at the moment that have devices that you can put outside the room and schedule your meetings. So they are native Teams panels. You manage them through Teams Admin Center. And today, the functionality is a little basic, shall we say. You can walk up, reserve a room, but the nice thing there is it creates a Teams meeting inside the room on your MTR. So you just hit the button and join. So it's getting quite a few updates and slated for this quarter, or between now and the end of March, is the ability to check in the room from the outside. So this has a couple of features. One is that when you check in, it then doesn't remove the entry from the calendar. So you can define, or will be able to define, a time, 2 minutes, 5 minutes, 15 minutes, when you must check in for your 4 p.m. call. If you haven't checked in, then it will release the room and free up the room in the calendar and show the lights green, for example. So that is coming, and that is actually might be rolled out on some devices already. It's on one of my GA devices. And then to follow on from that, being able to identify inside the room that someone has checked in, they're here for the next meeting.
Yes.
So, question? Starting with Microsoft Teams Rooms on Android, these devices will get a banner across the front of room display to say, next guests are here, wrap up your meeting. So this will come for Android first and then roll out to the Windows devices after that. And then finally, for this quarter, we have that room release. So defining that number of minutes that you want the room not to be used up, and what I call room ghosting. You decide to work from home, you don't clear down that room booking, you forget to take it out of the calendar. If you haven't checked in, then that automatic room release will kick in and free it up. So someone in the office can go and find a meeting space and use that.
And for that, Graham, so that's like you have to hit the panel. It's not intelligent, quote unquote, as in it knows you're in the room or it's looking at the MTR or anything. It's just you better hit the button or you haven't. Is that right?
Correct, yeah. So if you forget and you're sitting in the room, someone else can just walk outside and say, "I'll book the room" if it's cleared up. So yeah, it's encouraging that behavior that you must be in the office, you must check in and reserve that room. Obviously, someone could walk down a corridor and just check in on the rooms, but that's what my kids would do. Hopefully, grown adults wouldn't do that, and Tom, obviously. So it's a nice feature. It's been requested a lot from enterprises because room booking is a premium space, and especially as we start returning to the office, more and more spaces will be be booked out, and you don't want them on rooms underutilized.
Yeah, Robert asks, can you check in from inside or outside the room? I'm guessing wherever the panel is, but 9 times out of 10 the panel's going to be the outside.
Correct, yeah.
Yeah.
There's nothing on the MTR now. Someone mentioned to me the other day, it might have been on our another show, on our devices show, was actually if it's in a call, can it not light up the room red, and show that it's busy? Interesting thing there. I wonder, could you write a Power App? Maybe Mark can do that with his super skills on or Tom, to write some code to say it's in a call, make the room busy. But yeah, there's nothing inside the room to say I want to check in. You have to pop outside and hit the check-in button.
We have another question from Thomas as well. So he's asking, what form does the check-in come in via mobile Teams app the panel or in the room console?
So let me just bring this up. I advance my slide. So there's the settings where you define the check-in, and just down here is outside the room. You have that check-in icon. By your time, you check in, and then that reserves that room for you. Then coming in Q2, we have the ability to check out early. So let's say you've booked the meeting for 1 hour and you're finished after 45 minutes. You can then touch the panel to say, release the room. So someone else can then utilize that meeting space. The other feature that will be on the panel is the extend room reservation. So if the room is available, so you book it from 4 to 5 and you need it to 5:30, if the room is free, you can then extend your reservation. Obviously, you could do that by opening the Teams invite where it was created, but maybe they're not in the room, which means you can walk to the panel and extend the invite very easily that way. Randy, release the hounds button. Yeah, they're coming into the room next. So they're the features coming, and there probably are some more that will appear over time, but this is what's on the public roadmap for the first half of this year, should we say. And then there's also another one you may notice up here. Let me just highlight that bit here. Max room capacity. So up here on the bottom slider, again, define the number of people that are allowed in the room, and then cameras that are capable of doing people counting will then be able to show the number of people and say if you're at max capacity in that space. So that's another feature that will be coming as well at some point this year. So next up, we have Teams rooms on Windows, and probably the most significant, I think, update is the front row layout that was released or is rolling out across tenants. It's a mixture of a application update, so the Windows app that will update to the store 4.11.12, I think, is the GA release, and then there's also a web service update, and that needs to be updated on your tenant. That just rolls out over a gradual time. And then you'll see a front row layout button on your console. There is also a system flag through the XML configuration that you can set to force front row. So if you do build a room with projectors and everything else, and you want the front row layout all the time, you can force that now with a config change on the system, so users can't change it back to gallery or together mode, for example. We then have the ability for Teams casting. This is going to be coming for the Windows desktop. You already have it on iOS and Android, and this will come to the Windows client as well. So you'll be able to cast from your laptop straight into your meeting room. So that's quite cool without having to set a call up. Then the next feature, again, as part of the rollouts with the app update and the web service update, is multi-camera switching. So being able to plug in multiple USB cameras into your Microsoft Teams rooms and then switch them live during calls. And I've got a screenshot coming up showing you that. And then for people who are managing many devices and want to use the Azure AD conditional access support, that is also now coming in place. So the devices can be marked compliant, etc. Once they're on your network and registered with Endpoint Manager. Then also we had a updated calling Meet Now app. So the UI has changed slightly. The Cortana icon has changed. Sorry, I shouldn't have said that word. Courtney, she's changed her appearance, and it's no longer a microphone. It's now a round circle, the same as on your Windows client. So this is what it looks like, the new UI now. You have a meet button rather than new meeting, and then you have a call button rather than the dial pad and the icon. So these are some slight changes, and obviously the Courtney button, it's enabled in 2 modes. One is always listening, and that's been expanded to a number of different English languages. But you've also got the push to talk as well. So you can tap the button and say, join my next call, add Tom Morgan to the meeting. It'll look for your directory, and yes, you're here, Tom. And then, you can do things hands-free from there. So that's the new UI. The Meet experience now is before you'd start it and you'd say who you want to call. This new experience now tells you to, it starts the call just like your desktop. So that Meet Now experience is the same experience as on your desktop there. And then finally, we have the camera switching. So during the call, next to the camera icon, you've got a down arrow. You select that, and then you can choose your cameras. One thing that you can't do is rename the cameras. So your users need to know and understand where the Brio is, and where the meetup is, for example. So it again needs a bit of.
That feels like quite a big gap, doesn't it, for real world users? Like, I'm sure everyone on this call knows the difference between a Brio and a meetup. I think that's about it for real people. Like,
yeah. So yeah, I think that needs a little bit of improvement there. And I know Jason Molden at Crestron, he tested up to 8 cameras. He ran out of USB hubs and ports. So you can list all the cameras there. But yeah, people need to know what one's looking where. You do get a preview, so you can change camera and then tap away. So you'll get that preview before you go live on there.
So we're going for a preview even if the other camera's live?
Yes, you'll see it when you drop the arrow down and change camera. And also in the admin settings now, behind in the MTR app settings, you can define your default camera. So let's say it's always the audience camera, or you want it always the presenter camera. That can be the default for every call. So like your audio settings, you have your defaults. You have the default camera now in the app settings as well.
It's nice, so it doesn't end up left on the document camera for the next meeting.
Yeah. So front row, let's have a look what this looks like. So I did some screenshots today of what it looks like in between single and dual screen. There are some slight differences. So over on the left-hand side, we have the audio raised hands, and that's again a new feature rolling out across Teams. Is what order people ask their questions. Right-hand side, we have the meeting chat, and then in the middle, we have that space for content. And then down the bottom, we obviously have the images. So if people are off video, obviously you just see their initials. And when people start turning their video on single screen, you can go up to 4 video feeds today. So this is what's happening today. Again, it's in preview, so things will change over time, I guess. And then obviously when you share content, that's in the middle, and then raise hands is on the left-hand side. As you can see there, I was trying out PowerPoint Live. That's not shown on front of room yet. It's only on the desktop clients that you see the PowerPoint Live feature. And then for dual screen, again, this can then go up to, I believe it's 9 people, 8 people, 9 people, yeah, 9 people. And any more are obviously just displayed as the icons on the right-hand side. Again, the left screen is then used for content sharing, and then the right screen is just the subject of the meeting, which I think is not best use of the real estate for maybe a 70-inch screen that you might have on the wall. But again, things could change over time. What is nice, actually, if you do pin presenters or spotlight people, they will then take over that right screen. So that's quite useful when you pin or spotlight people. So you can pin, I think, up to 4 or 5 on the MTR clients. So that is a bit nicer if you've got some main speakers there. So that is the front row layout, and again, should be rolling out to everyone and out there. There's some features coming for Android. So ultimately, the goal is to have as near feature parity between Android and Windows. So again, users don't need to make a choice. They don't need to know what the difference is. They're just in the Microsoft Teams room. So some of the highlights coming for this first half of the year. HDMI content sharing is rolling out across various vendors. Again, that Teams casting, that will support both Windows and Android. And then we'll have guest join access for Zoom and WebEx on the Android platform. And then there's no time frame given just yet, but they announced BlueJeans and GoTo for the Windows platform. That will come next. And again, that will roll out onto Android later on as well. Chat bubbles, so people are messaging during a call. You'll get those chat bubbles on the front of room display on the Android systems. And also coming to Android first is the breakout room support. So again, popular in like education or maybe workshops where you want to break off some people into different calls. That'll be supported on the devices. So guest join access, you'll simply invite the meeting room and you'll get that Zoom or WebEx logo and call, and then being able to do breakout rooms on the devices.
Graham, Phil asked, do you know if there's any timeline for front row on the Android, or is it even planned? Is it a too high horsepower for Android?
It is planned. I guess it's sometime later in the year. There's been no commitment. The product group have just said yes, it'll be across all devices. Again, it's a layout change. A lot of it is server-side rendering, so it's not actually the device doing that much work, really, I don't think.
Right.
And then finally, a sneak peek at a vendor that will be certified this quarter. So you may have heard of this company starting some new devices for Microsoft Teams and bringing out a whole range of devices. So the Teams panel, Teams rooms, and Teams display, device in the middle at the bottom there, and then on the side you got this Teams board. That's the sort of name it's been given. I don't know if it's final or not. I saw it being presented, but it's again a new category for the room systems. Teams board. It's basically an all-in-one Android device that will have that same UI, same experience, but then be able to do full Microsoft whiteboarding on there as well. So using the native whiteboard app. So Neat are coming out with that first. There are other vendors lined up as well to release this sort of device in this category.
So that's not an Android board running a Teams app. It's an Android for that device, like a Teams display.
Yeah. So a lot of questions people ask a lot is, could I install Miro, for example, like a third-party whiteboarding app? It can't. It has to run what's in Microsoft Teams. Right. And another question someone asked was, if I share a poll, because it's touchscreen, I could interact with it. On your desktop client, you get a pop-up when someone does a poll or a quiz. It can't interact with that. So again, it's early days for this new category on what it'd be able to do. So it's interesting category. And obviously the first question from a lot of people is, how does that compare to a Surface Hub? And maybe Microsoft might do a document of Teams board versus Surface Hub like they did for Windows and Android. But they're different use cases. Surface Hub has a lot of great features, whereas this is just purely a Microsoft Teams room with whiteboarding, which you could do today. You could get a Microsoft Teams room on Windows or Android and plug it into a touchscreen from NEC, EMEA, or whoever it might be, and you'll still be able to do those whiteboarding features today.
I guess it's pre-release, so maybe this isn't a fair question, but does the pricing kind of reflect that difference?
Yeah, it's nearly half the price.
Right. Yeah.
And again, depends on people's use cases. On going up to a Surface Hub, opening up a OneDrive document, sharing that, collaborating, versus let's just brainstorm on a whiteboard. And again, I think that device category will expand over time as well, and hopefully that use case will be there as well. So that is device news that we have. There's lots more on the public roadmap as well. I'll pop a link in the chat so you can see and filter that down. But they're the sort of main highlights that I think are most interesting for many people. There's lots of other stuff back-end wise on the managed service. So the Microsoft Teams Room Premium, there's lots of additions there. So Surface Hub, Android are coming to the premium service, and they're also doing what's the ability to granularly define who has access to each location in the managed service portal as well. So lots of different areas there.
Thanks, Graham. That was bang on time. I'm going to stop recording. For those listening to the recording, we're now going to go into a live chat session. We're not going to record that.